I never imagined a simple trip to buy a laptop would end with me on my knees, gasping for air as pepper spray burned through my lungs and tears streamed down my face. As the CEO of a multi-million-dollar tech company, I've faced subtle discrimination my entire career, but never had someone looked at my skin and decided I was a criminal worthy of chemical assault. Until today. The worst part? The store's security cameras captured everything, and within minutes, the entire world would witness what happens when shopping while black becomes a crime. The automatic doors of Global Phone parted with a soft hiss. As Thaddeus King stepped inside, the cool air conditioning washed over him, a welcome relief from Atlanta's spring humidity. His fingers traced the edge of his crisp blue suit jacket, the same one he'd worn earlier that day to announce Phoenix Software's latest acquisition. Thaddeus moved with purpose toward the laptop display. The sleek MacBook Pro gleamed under precise spotlights, its aluminum surface cool against his fingertips as he lifted it for inspection. The weight felt substantial in his hands, a gift worthy of Jordan's upcoming birthday. "Can I help you with something?" The voice cut through the ambient electronic hum of the store, sharp and accusatory. Thaddeus turned to find Rebecca Vance, the store manager, standing rigid with her arms crossed. Her eyes narrowed as they swept over his tailored suit, his custom watch, his face. Just his face. "I'm interested in this model," Thaddeus replied, voice measured. Professional. The same tone he'd used in boardrooms across the country. Rebecca's hand disappeared beneath the counter. "Have you already paid for that device, sir?" The question hung in the air. 3 customers browsing nearby glanced over. "I just picked it up to look at the specs," Thaddeus explained, setting the laptop down carefully. "I haven't even decided." The canister appeared in Rebecca's hand with startling speed. "Step away from the merchandise," she commanded. Thaddeus raised his palms. "Ma'am, there's no need for." The spray erupted from the canister with a violent hiss. Orange mist enveloped Thaddeus's face before he could shield himself. The effect was immediate and devastating. Fire. Pure liquid fire invaded his eyes, nose, and mouth simultaneously. His lungs seized as if gripped by invisible hands. Thaddeus dropped to his knees, the polished floor hard against his bones. The store's lights fractured into blinding stars as tears flooded his vision. "Security!" Rebecca shouted. Attempted theft in electronics. Thaddeus couldn't see, couldn't speak. Each breath felt like swallowing broken glass. The chemical agent coated his throat, turning saliva into acid. His skin burned where the spray had made contact. "Oh my God, what did you do?" A woman's voice rose above the commotion. "Call the police," someone else shouted. "I already am." Another voice. Thaddeus heard phones clicking, digital shutters capturing his humiliation in high definition. His hands trembled as he tried to wipe his eyes, only spreading the burning chemical further across his face. "Thaddeus," Jordan's voice cut through his agony. "She must have been waiting in the car. What happened? Who did this?" Through watery vision, Thaddeus saw his business partner drop her coffee. The cup hit the floor, dark liquid splashing across the pristine tile. Jordan rushed to his side, her face contorted with shock and fury. "He tried to steal that computer," Rebecca declared, pointing at the untouched laptop. "I caught him red-handed." "That's a lie," Thaddeus choked out between gasps. The words scraped his raw throat. "I was just looking, sir. Please remain calm," a new voice instructed. A store security guard approached cautiously. "Calm." Jordan's voice rose. "She just assaulted the CEO of Phoenix Software for shopping. Look at him." The crowd grew. Phones recorded everything. Whispers rippled through the gathering spectators. "She pepper-sprayed him for being black." Someone muttered loud enough for everyone to hear that Rebecca's face paled. "I did not." "He was stealing the security cameras," Thaddeus managed to say, pointing weakly toward the ceiling. "Check the footage." A young woman stepped forward with a bottled water. "Here, sir. For your eyes." Thaddeus felt the cool liquid wash over his burning face as Jordan tilted his head back. "Police are on their way," the security guard announced, eyeing Rebecca with growing suspicion. "Good," Jordan said, her voice steel. "Because someone's getting arrested today, and it won't. Be my friend." Outside, sirens wailed, growing louder. 15 minutes. That's all it would take to change everything. That if you've ever been judged by your appearance rather than your character, you know exactly how this feels. The shame, the rage, the helplessness. This happens every day in America, but what makes this story different is what happened next. Stay with me, because in just 15 minutes, this story of injustice transforms into something powerful. The path to becoming CEO of Phoenix Software began in a cramped apartment in South Chicago. Thaddeus King's mother worked double shifts as a hospital administrator, his worn textbooks illuminated by a single desk lamp as he studied long after midnight. His father, an electrical engineer who never got the promotions his white colleagues received, drilled into him. Excellence isn't optional for us, it's mandatory. At 16, Thaddeus built his first computer from salvage parts. By 18, he'd earned a full scholarship to MIT, where professors routinely mistook him for janitorial staff. One memorable evening, he was coding in the lab when campus security demanded his ID, while ignoring the white students working beside him. I learned early that I'd need to be twice as good to get half as far, Thaddeus later told Forbes. After graduation, he faced closed doors at tech giants despite graduating. Summa cum laude. Recruiters would light up during phone interviews, then grow cold when meeting him in person. One interviewer actually asked if he was there for the diversity quota. Instead of breaking, Thaddeus built. He took contract work, saved every penny, and developed a revolutionary cloud security protocol in his apartment. When venture capitalists initially passed on funding, he bootstrapped with personal credit cards, sleeping on office floors while building his first prototype. The rejections weren't personal, he told himself, though they always felt that way. Even after securing his first million-dollar contract, he arrived at meetings where clients would address his white junior developers instead of him. By 40, against overwhelming odds, Thaddeus had transformed that single protocol into Phoenix Software, a company valued at $440 million. His mother kept his first business card framed above her fireplace. The true catalyst for Phoenix Software's meteoric rise came 7 years ago when Thaddeus met Jordan Barnes at a tech conference in Boston. As the only two black presenters among hundreds, they gravitated toward each other during the networking hour. "Everyone keeps asking me where the restrooms are," Jordan had joked, gesturing to her keynote speaker badge. Their conversation revealed complementary strengths: Thaddeus's brilliance with security architecture and Jordan's unparalleled talent for translating complex tech into user-friendly interfaces. 3 months later, Jordan joined Phoenix as COO, bringing her Harvard MBA and formidable industry connections. Their partnership proved transformative. Phoenix's flagship product, an AI-driven security platform that could identify threats before traditional systems detected them, captured the attention of major banks and healthcare providers. Revenue doubled annually for 3 consecutive years. "We succeeded because we built solutions for problems others didn't recognize," Jordan explained in their company manifesto. When you've navigated systems that weren't designed for your success, you develop unique perspectives on their vulnerabilities. Their breakthrough moment arrived last quarter when Phoenix beat out tech giants for an exclusive contract with the Federal Reserve. The 5-year deal, worth $300 million, validated their approach and positioned Phoenix for potential acquisition by Google or Microsoft, a rare achievement for a black-owned tech firm. Industry analysts noted how Phoenix cultivated an unusually diverse workforce: 62% people of color, 58% women, with retention rates double the industry average. Thaddeus implemented policies he wished existed when he started: flexible work arrangements for parents, mentorship programs for underrepresented groups, and transparent salary structures. Fortune magazine's recent profile highlighted how Phoenix's diversity directly contributed to its innovation. Their heterogeneous teams identify blind spots that homogeneous groups miss, creating more comprehensive security solutions. Despite their success, both founders routinely faced subtle and overt discrimination. Thaddeus was still followed in high-end stores. Jordan's technical expertise was questioned by male colleagues who addressed their responses to Thaddeus. They used these experiences to fuel their determination rather than diminish it. "Every no we've heard has become foundation for our yes," became their unofficial company motto. Rebecca Vance had managed Global Phone's flagship Atlanta location for 26 months. Her employee file showed consistently strong performance metrics: sales targets exceeded, inventory shrinkage below company average, staff turnover minimal. On paper, she was exemplary. Reality proved more complex. Rebecca grew up in an exclusively white suburb of Birmingham, her worldview shaped by isolation and family attitudes that divided people into us and them. Her father, a police officer, spoke often about those neighborhoods and those people. These beliefs calcified rather than evolved through adulthood to AT Global Phone. Rebecca maintained two mental catalogs of customer behavior. White customers browsing extensively were just being thorough. Black customers doing the same were suspicious and warranted extra surveillance. She never acknowledged this double standard, even to herself. Point three incidents in the past month had heightened Rebecca's anxieties. A shoplifting case had resulted in $3,000 of lost merchandise. Her district manager, Eduardo Martinez, had issued a formal warning. Loss prevention is your responsibility. Another incident like this could affect your annual review. The pressure intensified when corporate headquarters announced mystery shoppers would evaluate store security protocols. Rebecca's bonus, needed for her upcoming mortgage refinancing, hinged on these scores. Last Thursday, a staff meeting revealed her underlying biases. When discussing customer service metrics, she interrupted a Black associate's suggestion with, "Let's focus on protecting our inventory first. You know what kind of people have been coming in lately?" The room fell silent. Several employees exchanged glances. No one challenged her. Rebecca's morning routine now included obsessively reviewing security camera footage, convinced she could identify potential thieves by appearance alone. She instructed staff to alert her about suspicious customers, a term she never clearly defined but applied disproportionately. Her desk drawer contained a canister of pepper spray, unauthorized by company policy. Just in case, she told herself, though Global Phone explicitly prohibited staff from confronting suspected shoplifters. Protocol required calling security or police. That morning, Rebecca had received another email from Eduardo. Loss metrics. Still concerning. Address immediately. The message landed like a physical blow. She'd skipped breakfast, her stomach knotted with anxiety, mind racing with worst-case scenarios about her job security. When Thaddeus King walked through the door in his tailored suit, Rebecca didn't see a successful CEO. She saw only confirmation of her preconceptions, a threat to be neutralized. 24 hours earlier, Thaddeus and Jordan sat in Phoenix Software's glass-walled conference room, watching their board members applaud the quarterly presentation. The projection screen displayed an undeniable success story. Revenue up 37%, client acquisition costs down 18%, and the Federal Reserve contract secured ahead of schedule. "This is exceptional work," said Eliza Watkins, their lead investor, tapping her pen against the polished table. "The market positioning for acquisition is nearly perfect." Jordan slid a spreadsheet across to Thaddeus, their private shorthand for "We've done it." After 5 years of grinding work, Phoenix stood on the precipice of the tech industry's ultimate validation, acquisition by a major player, with the founders maintaining operational control. "We'll need the Q3 projections finalized by next Thursday," Thaddeus told the board, his voice steady despite his internal celebration. Jordan's team has the user growth models ready for review. The meeting concluded with handshakes and backslaps. As the board members filed out, Thaddeus caught Jordan's eye and nodded toward his office. "We did it," he said once the door closed behind them. He loosened his tie, finally allowing himself to smile fully. 5 years of no, and now everyone wants to say yes. Jordan collapsed into the leather chair across from his desk. "Remember when we couldn't get a meeting with anyone above vice president level? Now Google's acquisition team is calling. Weekly." They ordered celebration coffee from the artisanal shop downstairs. Thaddeus's usual black coffee with a hint of vanilla, Jordan's complex concoction of espresso, almond milk, and cinnamon. The familiar aroma filled his office as they reviewed the journey. "Your birthday's next week," Thaddeus mentioned casually. "Any plans?" Jordan shrugged. "Sleep, maybe? Haven't had a full 8 hours since February." "You mentioned wanting to replace that dinosaur laptop of yours," Thaddeus said. "The one that sounds like a helicopter taking off." "Yeah, once the acquisition finalizes. No big purchases until then." Thaddeus nodded, decision made. After everything Jordan had sacrificed for Phoenix, the missed family events, the 3 a.m. crisis calls, the investors who spoke only to him despite her equal partnership, She deserved something special. Tomorrow, he would surprise her with the top-of-line MacBook she coveted but wouldn't buy for herself. Let's meet early tomorrow, he suggested. I want to review the press release draft before legal gets their hands on it. Little did he know that his simple shopping errand would transform both their lives in ways no business success ever could. The first video appeared on Twitter at 2:17 p.m., just 8 minutes after the pepper spray incident. Filmed by a college student named Marcus Wright, the 20-second clip showed Thaddeus on his knees, face contorted in pain, with Rebecca standing over him, canister still in hand. Marcus's caption read, "Black man just got pepper sprayed at. Global phone for looking at a laptop. Hashtag shopping while black hashtag Atlanta." By 2:25 p.m., the video had 7,000 retweets. 3 minutes later, a second angle emerged from another customer's phone. This one captured Rebecca's accusation and Thaddeus's pain. Response: I was just looking. Local activist at ATL Justice Now shared both videos, tagging news outlets. Happening now. Black man assaulted by white store manager at Global Phone Peachtree Center. Police responding. The algorithm recognized the surge in engagement. Within 20 minutes, hashtag Global Phone Assault began trending in Atlanta. By the half-hour mark, national accounts picked up the story. A tech reporter for The Verge recognized Thaddeus. Wait, that's Thaddeus King, CEO of Phoenix Software. They just landed the Federal Reserve contract last month. This detail transformed the narrative. No longer was this just another incident of racial profiling. It was a successful black CEO being criminalized while shopping. Business publications jumped on the story. CNBC tweeted, Phoenix Software CEO Thaddeus King reportedly assaulted while shopping in Atlanta. Company stock responding to incident. Inside Global Phone, customers' phones pinged with notifications about the very event unfolding before them. One showed Rebecca the trending topic on her screen. The color drained from her face as she realized what was happening. Her actions weren't contained within these store walls. They were being broadcast to millions. The digital wildfire had only just begun. Detective Maria Alvarez pushed through Global Phone's entrance. Her partner, Officer James Chin, 2 steps behind. The chaos inside hit them immediately. A crowd formed. A semicircle around a man seated on the floor, a woman kneeling beside him applying bottled water to his face. Atlanta PD. Everyone step back, Alvarez commanded, her voice cutting through the commotion. The detective had been finishing paperwork at the mall's security office when the call came through. Code 10 to 10, possible assault in progress. She'd heard the dispatch mention pepper spray and suspected shoplifting. What happened here? Alvarez asked, addressing no one in particular as she assessed the scene. Multiple voices responded at once. The manager attacked him. She pepper sprayed him for no reason. Check the cameras. Alvarez raised her hand for silence. One at a time. Sir, are you injured? She directed this to Thaddeus, noting his expensive suit now stained with water and sweat. Yes, he managed, voice hoarse. She sprayed me. Unprovoked. His eyes were bloodshot, skin inflamed around his nose and mouth, consistent with pepper spray exposure. Officer Chun was already radioing for medical assistance. Who's in charge here? Alvarez asked. That a woman stepped forward, still clutching the pepper spray canister. I'm Rebecca Vance, store manager. This man was attempting to steal a laptop. Alvarez nodded, expression neutral. Ms. Vance, please step aside with Officer Chun. Sir, your name? Thaddeus King. I'm CEO of Phoenix Software. I was just shopping for a laptop. The detective's eyebrows rose slightly. She recognized the company name from recent business news. She turned to the woman beside Thaddeus. And you are? Jordan Barnes, COO of Phoenix, and his friend. I was waiting in the car when I heard commotion. Alvarez noted the details in her pad. I need to speak with witnesses and review security footage immediately. A young man in a Global Phone uniform approached. I can pull up the camera feeds, officer. Do it, Alvarez directed, following him to the security monitor behind the counter. The feed showed multiple angles of the store floor. The employee rewound to 12 minutes prior. There, he said, pointing to Thaddeus entering the store. Alvarez watched the footage with practiced attention. Thaddeus moved directly to the laptop display. No furtive glances, no suspicious behavior. He examined a MacBook, turning it over, clearly assessing the product. Rebecca appeared in frame, approaching rapidly. Brief conversation. Then the spray, deployed without warning. Freeze it, Alvarez said. Play that back. The second viewing confirmed what she'd seen. No threatening gestures from Thaddeus. No attempt to conceal the laptop or move toward the exit. No physical aggression whatsoever. Do you have audio? She asked. Yes, ma'am. The employee adjusted the settings. The recorded exchange was brief. Rebecca, have you already paid for that device, sir? Thaddeus, I just picked it up to look at the specs. I haven't even decided. Rebecca, step away from the merchandise. Thaddeus, ma'am, there's no need. 4. Then came the spray and Thaddeus's cry of pain. Alvarez's jaw tightened. She'd seen enough. The timestamp showed the entire interaction lasted less than 30 seconds from approach to assault. Show me Ms. Vance's movements before this, she requested. The footage revealed Rebecca watching Thaddeus from the moment he entered, following his reflection in the security mirrors, hand repeatedly touching her pocket where the spray was concealed. Officer, called a customer, holding up her phone. People are posting videos online already. I recorded it too, if you need another angle. Alvarez nodded. Please email that to this address. She handed over her card. 3 more customers approached with similar offers. Detective Alvarez. Officer Chin called from across the store. Ms. Vance is claiming self-defense. Says Mr. King. Made a threatening movement. Alvarez glanced back at the crystal-clear security footage. The video contradicts that statement entirely. She pulled up the Global Phone corporate policy on her phone. Section 7.3. Employees must never physically engage with suspected shoplifters. Contact security or law enforcement immediately. The detective's assessment took exactly 11 minutes. The evidence wasn't merely compelling, it was overwhelming. Rebecca Vance paced the small break room where Officer Chun had asked her to wait. Her hands trembled as she recited her version of events for the 3rd time. He was acting suspicious, looking around too much. Then he grabbed the laptop quickly, like he might run. Officer Chin's expression remained professionally blank. The security footage doesn't show that, Ms. Vance. The cameras don't catch everything, Rebecca insisted, voice rising. He made a sudden movement. I felt threatened. Ms. Vance, multiple camera angles show the customer simply examining the product. At no point did he make any threatening gestures. Rebecca's foundation was cracking. You don't understand the pressure we're under with theft. My district manager has been on my case about inventory shrinkage. Does your company policy authorize the use of pepper spray on customers? Well, no, but is that your personal pepper spray or company issued? Rebecca hesitated. Personal. So you brought an unauthorized weapon into your workplace and used it on a customer who, according to all visual evidence, was simply shopping. You're twisting this. Rebecca's voice cracked. Look, these people come in here all the time, pretending to shop, but really, these people. Chin interrupted, eyebrow raised. Rebecca froze, realizing her mistake. I meant shoplifters. Ms. Vance, we have statements from 6 witnesses and multiple video recordings. None support your version of events. Rebecca's composure collapsed entirely. It happened so fast. I just reacted. The door opened as Detective Alvarez entered. Ms. Vance, we've reviewed the security footage and witness statements. Detective, this is all a misunderstanding, Rebecca pleaded. I was just doing my job. Your job includes assaulting customers. Alvarez asked coolly. No, but he was. Rebecca stopped, searching for words. He was what? Black? Well-dressed? Shopping? The footage shows a paying customer examining merchandise, Ms. Vance. Nothing more. Rebecca's face flushed. You don't know what it's like. The pressure from corporate about theft. We've contacted your district manager. Alvarez cut in. He confirmed that Global Phone policy explicitly forbids confronting suspected shoplifters, let alone assaulting them. I didn't assault anyone. I protected myself. From what threat exactly? Alvarez placed her phone on the table, playing the security footage. Show me the threat. Rebecca watched herself on screen, approaching Thaddeus unprovoked, deploying the spray without warning. I thought he was reaching for something, she stammered. The laptop he was already holding. Alvarez asked that Rebecca's eyes darted around the room, seeking escape from the mounting evidence. This isn't fair. You're not listening to me. I've listened carefully, Ms. Vance. Your statements contradict objective evidence from multiple sources. Rebecca's shoulders slumped. The reality of her situation was finally sinking in. Detective Alvarez stood before Rebecca, expression grim. Rebecca Vance, you're under arrest for assault. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. The Miranda warning echoed through the break room as Officer Chun produced handcuffs. Rebecca's eyes widened in disbelief. Wait, you're arresting me. Her voice cracked. This can't be happening. Please place your hands behind your back, Chun instructed firmly. No, you don't understand, Rebecca protested, backing against the wall. I'm the victim here. I'm the store manager. Ms. Vance, Alvarez said evenly. Your position doesn't grant you immunity from assault charges. The evidence is clear. Rebecca's professional demeanor disintegrated completely. Tears streaked her makeup as the handcuffs clicked around her wrists. Please, my record, my career. You should have considered that before attacking a customer. Alvarez replied. Officer Chen guided Rebecca toward the door. The store had grown quieter, customers and employees watching in stunned silence as the manager, not Thaddeus, was let out in handcuffs. Thaddeus sat on a chair near the entrance, an EMT finishing treatment for his pepper spray exposure. His eyes met Rebecca's as officers escorted her past. No triumph showed in his expression, only a profound weariness that comes from experiencing what too many had before him. This is wrong, Rebecca called out desperately. I was protecting the store. A Global Phone employee stepped forward, handing Detective Alvarez a folder. Detective, these are Ms. Vance's performance reviews and disciplinary notices. Corporate asked me to provide them. Alvarez accepted the documents. Inside were written warnings about Rebecca's overzealous approach to loss prevention and concerning pattern of targeting certain customers for extra surveillance. 3 complaints in the past month alone, Alvarez noted, scanning the pages. All dismissed by Ms. Vance without investigation, the employee confirmed. Jordan stood beside Thaddeus, hand on his shoulder. Will charges be filed? She asked. That's not my decision, ma'am, Alvarez replied. But based on the evidence, I'd say it's likely. As Rebecca was guided toward the exit, her final defense crumbled. You people always stick together, she shouted. Over her shoulder, the outburst hung in the air, removing any remaining doubt about her motivations. Officer Chen tightened his grip on Rebecca's arm. That's enough. The door slid open. Awaiting them outside, a crowd of onlookers, phones raised. Capturing the moment justice reversed its expected course, the reversal shocked everyone. Most of all Rebecca, who had clearly expected Thaddeus to be removed from her store. Instead, she walked the perp walk while news cameras captured every step. WSB-TV's live feed cut into regular programming. Breaking news from Peachtree Center, where a store manager has been arrested after allegedly pepper spraying a black customer. Sources identify the victim as Thaddeus King, CEO of Phoenix Software. Inside Global Phone, employees huddled around monitors displaying social media feeds. Hashtag Justice for Thaddeus had reached 50,000 mentions in under an hour. Video clips from multiple angles showed the assault, the aftermath, and now Rebecca's arrest. CNN's Atlanta bureau dispatched a crew, arriving just as Rebecca was placed in the police cruiser. Their livestream captured her final outburst, which immediately went viral. You people always stick together. Phones throughout the store buzzed with notifications as major outlets picked up the story. Breaking: store manager arrested after pepper spraying black tech. CEO Global Phone's corporate communications team scrambled to respond. Their first statement appeared on Twitter at 3:05 p.m. Global Phone is aware of an incident at our Peachtree Center location. We're cooperating fully with authorities and will provide updates as appropriate. The corporate response only fueled public outrage. Comments flooded in. An incident? Call it what it is, racism. Another day, another black person criminalized for shopping. Even a suit and CEO title doesn't protect you from shopping while black. Phoenix Software's phone lines jammed with media requests. Their PR director issued a brief statement. Our CEO, Thaddeus King, was the victim of an unprovoked assault while shopping. He is receiving medical attention and will address this incident when appropriate. Outside the store, the crowd swelled. Community activists arrived with hastily made signs. Shopping while black is not a crime, and justice for Thaddeus. Jordan fielded calls from board members and investors as medical personnel finished treating Thaddeus. His eyes remained bloodshot, skin irritated, but he could finally see clearly enough to grasp the magnitude of what was unfolding. At a Global Phone regional director arrived, ashen-faced. He approached Thaddeus directly. "Mr. King, words cannot express how deeply sorry we are. This behavior does not reflect our company values." Thaddeus's response was measured. "Today isn't about corporate statements. It's about accountability." The story jumped from local to national to global in less than an hour. CNBC's ticker displayed Phoenix Software's stock jumping 3% as investors anticipated a substantial settlement. The New York Times pushed a notification. Black CEO's shopping trip ends in assault and arrest of the store manager. In 15 minutes, the script had flipped completely. The expected victim became the victor. The authority figure became the defendant. And the world was watching. 6 hours after the incident, Phoenix Software's boardroom hummed with purposeful energy. Thaddeus sat at the head of the mahogany table, ice pack pressed against his still inflamed eyes. The pepper spray's effects lingered. His skin burned, throat raw, but his mind remained laser-focused. Surrounding him, Jordan Barnes, their chief legal counsel Elaine Washington, PR director Marcus Chun, and 3 partners from Goldstein and Powell, Atlanta's premier civil rights litigation firm. Wall-mounted screens displayed the incident footage, media coverage, and social analytics measuring the digital explosion. "The evidence is overwhelming," said Elaine, sliding a tablet toward Thaddeus. "Security footage, witness statements, employee testimonials about Ms. Vance's history of profiling customers. We have multiple grounds for action." Attorney James Powell, a towering figure who'd won landmark discrimination cases, leaned forward. "This isn't just assault, Mr. King. It's a textbook civil rights violation. Under Georgia law, we can pursue both criminal charges and civil remedies simultaneously." Thaddeus nodded, wincing as the movement aggravated his chemical burns. "What's our primary objective here?" The question silenced the room. It wasn't about money. Thaddeus's net worth exceeded 8 figures. It wasn't about publicity. Phoenix Software already commanded industry respect. Jordan spoke first. "Accountability and systemic change. This can't be solved with a check and an apology." "Precisely," Thaddeus agreed. "I want 3 outcomes. First, concrete policy changes at Global Phone and similar retailers. Second, financial support for organizations fighting racial profiling. Third, a commitment to training programs that address unconscious bias." Powell nodded approvingly. "Ambitious, but achievable. Global Phone will be motivated to settle quickly and quietly." "I'm not interested in quiet," Thaddeus countered. "Too many similar incidents never see daylight because victims lack my resources or platform." PR director Marcus Chin gestured to the social media metrics. "We're at 3.7 million impressions and climbing. Hashtag Justice for Thaddeus is trending nationally. Your response will reach an enormous audience." "Which means we must be strategic," Elaine cautioned. "Global Phone's legal team will contact us within hours. They'll offer a settlement with a non-disclosure agreement, which I'll decline," Thaddeus stated flatly. "They'll counter with a larger figure," Powell warned. "Most clients find it difficult to refuse 7 figures coupled with a confidentiality clause." "I'm not most clients." Thaddeus removed the ice pack, revealing reddened eyes that remained resolute. "My silence is not for sale." Marcus projected potential media strategies on the main screen. "We have 3 options for your public statement: conservative, balanced, or assertive." "Show me balanced," Thaddeus requested. The screen displayed talking points emphasizing accountability without inflammatory language. Thaddeus read them carefully, then shook his head. "Too cautious. This isn't about being polite. It's about speaking truth." "The assertive approach risks backlash," Marcus warned. "Some will claim you're playing the race card. They'll say that regardless," Jordan interjected. Thaddeus could read the phone book and be accused of making it about race. Thaddeus stood, pacing the length of the boardroom. The downtown Atlanta skyline stretched behind him, glass towers reflecting the setting sun. "Let's be clear about our leverage. Global Phone needs this resolved more than we do. Their stock dropped 8% today. Their brand is taking a beating online. They're vulnerable." Elaine tapped her legal pad. "Their corporate liability insurance likely caps at $10 million. That's probably their settlement ceiling. Money isn't my metric for success, Thaddeus replied. I want structural change, better training, independent audits of their security practices, and a commitment to eliminate racial profiling. Powell smiled slightly. Those demands may cost them more than any settlement figure. Exactly. Thaddeus returned to his seat. Draft the demand letter. Include both financial compensation and policy reforms. And prepare me for the press conference tomorrow. What's our timeline? Jordan asked. Fast and decisive, Thaddeus answered. We speak publicly at noon tomorrow. Give Global Phone until 9 a.m. to respond to our initial communication. As the meeting continued, Phoenix's legal team drafted documents while the PR department prepared media strategies. This wasn't merely damage control. It was a coordinated campaign for justice with Thaddeus King as its calm, determined center. One more thing, Thaddeus added as the meeting concluded. Find me organizations already working on retail profiling. They deserve support and amplification. The boardroom emptied gradually, leaving only Thaddeus and Jordan. She studied her friend and business partner, noting the determined set of his jaw beneath the pepper spray's angry marks. You know, she said quietly, most CEOs would just take the money and move on. Thaddeus gazed out at the city below. I'm not in this position just to be comfortable, Jordan. What's the point of having power if you don't use it to fix what's broken? The gleaming headquarters of Global Phone's parent company, NextGen Retail, buzzed with frantic activity despite the late hour. In the executive conference room on the 43rd floor, emergency damage control operations were underway at CEO Lawrence. Patterson paced before floor-to-ceiling windows, his reflection ghostly against the nighttime Chicago skyline. Around the polished conference table sat the company's top brass: General Counsel Victoria Mills, Chief Marketing Officer Derek Young, Head of Retail Operations Alicia Gomez, and 3 crisis management consultants brought in hours earlier. How bad is it? Patterson demanded, loosening his tie. Young grimaced, displaying a dashboard on the main screen. Very. We've logged over 80,000 negative social media mentions in the past 4 hours. Hashtag boycott Global Phone is trending. Celebrity influencers are sharing the footage. The video of Rebecca's arrest has 12 million views and climbing. Jesus. Patterson collapsed into his chair. What about stock impact? Mills slid a tablet toward him. Down 8.2% at closing. Analysts project another 5 to 10% drop tomorrow unless we take decisive action. Options. Give me options. Patterson's voice tightened. Mills straightened her glasses. Legally speaking, we're exposed on multiple fronts. Negligent hiring and retention of Rebecca Vance. Her personnel file shows previous complaints about profiling customers. Inadequate training. Possible pattern of discrimination if those complaints reveal bias. Can we settle quickly? Patterson asked. It's complicated, Mills replied. Mr. King isn't an ordinary plaintiff. He has resources, visibility, and a platform. This isn't just about money for him. Gomez, who oversaw all Global Phone locations, shook her head. We have a systemic problem. Rebecca Vance isn't an isolated case. Our loss prevention training has serious gaps. This isn't the time for broader reform discussions, Patterson snapped. Actually, interjected crisis consultant Elena Rodriguez, it's exactly the time. Phoenix Software's legal team will demand policy changes alongside compensation. Mr. King has the leverage to force structural reforms. Young displayed a mock-up press release. We've drafted 3 response approaches: minimal acknowledgement, full apology with concrete action steps, or somewhere in between. Minimal acknowledgement is off the table, Rodriguez stated firmly. That guarantees prolonged negative coverage. Patterson rubbed his temples. What's Thaddeus King's angle here? Everyone has a price. Our intelligence suggests he's planning a press conference tomorrow, Rodriguez replied. His team has already declined preliminary settlement feelers from regional counsel. Offer more, Patterson ordered. Mills shook her head. It's not that simple. His net worth exceeds $50 million. Phoenix Software is positioned for acquisition at nearly $500 million. Financial leverage alone won't resolve this. The room fell silent as this reality sank in. Then what does he want? Patterson demanded. Accountability, Rodriguez answered simply. Policy changes. public acknowledgement of wrongdoing, and likely a substantial contribution to racial justice. Organizations. That's PR nightmare territory, Yang protested. No, Rodriguez countered. The nightmare is already happening. These steps are your path out. Patterson stared at the Atlanta footage playing on a side screen, Rebecca Vance being led away in handcuffs while news cameras rolled. Fine. Draft a comprehensive response package. Full apology, policy review, independent audit of practices, financial compensation, charitable contributions. Whatever it takes. And Rebecca Vance, Mills asked, terminated effective immediately. Patterson said flatly, release a statement distancing ourselves from her actions. That could appear callous, Gomez warned, throwing her under the bus rather than acknowledging systemic issues. I don't care how it appears, Patterson snapped. She pepper-sprayed a black CEO for looking at a laptop. She's indefensible. Rodriguez tapped her pen against the table. Global Phone can emerge stronger from this crisis, but only with authentic commitment to change. Half measures will fail. Patterson nodded reluctantly. Prepare our most comprehensive package. I want direct contact with Thaddeus King before his press conference. And somebody get me Phoenix Software's acquisition valuation. Maybe there's an angle there. As the meeting continued, Patterson stepped away to call the board chairman. Down the hall, a separate team drafted termination papers for Rebecca Vance, while PR specialists crafted statements for immediate release. A Global Phone's corporate machinery, typically focused on quarterly profits and market share, now pivoted entirely toward crisis management. The company that had ignored subtle signs of bias now faced its consequences in the harsh spotlight of public scrutiny. At precisely noon the following day, Thaddeus King stepped to the podium in Phoenix Software's glass-walled atrium. Camera flashes punctuated the silence as journalists from every major outlet jostled for position. His face still showed marks from the chemical assault, but he stood tall in a precisely tailored Navy suit. Behind him stood Jordan, Phoenix's executive team, and representatives from 3 civil rights organizations. Attorney James Powell remained slightly off camera, watching intently. Thaddeus adjusted the microphone, his calm demeanor contrasting with yesterday's chaos. When he spoke, his voice carried the measured authority that had made him a respected industry leader. Yesterday afternoon, I walked into a Global Phone store to purchase a laptop for my colleague's birthday. Within minutes, I was pepper-sprayed in the face, accused of theft, and subjected to humiliation, not because of anything I did, but because of who I am. He paused, letting the words settle across the room and to viewers of the live stream. I'm here today not just as a victim seeking justice, but as someone with the platform and resources to ensure this incident creates meaningful change. Thaddeus described the attack without embellishment, letting the facts speak for themselves. He acknowledged the swift response of law enforcement and the public support. What happened to me happens to Black Americans daily, often without cameras, witnesses, or the position I'm fortunate to hold. The difference isn't the incident, but the outcome. Most victims don't see justice served within 15 minutes. Most don't have millions witnessing their experience. His tone shifted, becoming more pointed. This morning, Global Phone offered a settlement that included a non-disclosure agreement. I declined. They offered a larger sum. I declined again. Some will call this poor business judgment. I call it necessary transparency. Murmurs rippled through the press corps. Instead, I've proposed the following: significant financial contribution to organizations fighting retail discrimination, mandatory bias training for all Global Phone employees, independent audits of their security practices, and revision of policies that enable profiling. Thaddeus gripped the podium's edges, his expression intensifying. This isn't about one store manager or one company. It's about dismantling systems that criminalize Black customers. It's about ensuring nobody fears assault while shopping. And it's about holding power accountable, whether that power comes from a corporate badge, a pepper spray canister, or a position of authority. He straightened, voice unwavering. To those watching who've experienced similar treatment, I see you. Your experiences matter. And I'm committed to ensuring my experience becomes a catalyst for the change we deserve. Without taking questions, Thaddeus stepped back from the podium. The room erupted with shouted inquiries as he exited, leaving Jordan to manage the follow-up. Within minutes, his statement played across every major network. Hashtag Thaddeus King Speaks began trending nationwide, his words resonating far beyond the tech industry or Atlanta. He had transformed a personal assault into a powerful call for systemic change, and Global Phone now faced a choice between authentic reform or prolonged public reckoning. The tech industry's response was swift and unprecedented. Within hours of Thaddeus's press conference, a joint statement appeared with signatures from 37 tech CEOs, including leaders from Microsoft, Salesforce, and Twitter. What happened to Thaddeus King reflects persistent biases that plague our society and our industry. We stand with him in demanding accountability and commit to examining our own practices to create more equitable spaces for all. Sundar Pichai of Google called Thaddeus personally, expressing solidarity and offering Google's diversity resources. Mark Benioff announced Salesforce would audit its own retail partnerships for anti-bias training compliance. The most significant support came from Eleanor Walsh, CEO of Meridian Technologies, one of the companies considering acquiring Phoenix Software. Her video message went viral. Today, I'm announcing Meridian's formal commitment to finalize our acquisition talks with Phoenix Software at a 15% premium above market valuation. This isn't charity. It's recognition of a brilliantly run company, whose leadership has demonstrated extraordinary courage. Mr. King's response to injustice reveals exactly the kind of ethical leadership we seek in our corporate family. The announcement sent Phoenix's stock soaring, adding tens of millions to its valuation overnight. Black tech leaders organized a virtual town hall, sharing their own experiences with profiling and discrimination. The hashtag #TechWhileBlack collected thousands of stories from employees across the industry. Jordan fielded calls from venture capital firms offering support packages for Phoenix's next expansion phase. 3 competing retailers to Global Phone reached out with partnership proposals centered on diversity initiatives. The Techquity Foundation, an industry coalition promoting diversity, announced the creation of the Thaddeus King Retail Equity Initiative with $25 million in initial funding. The program would provide grants for bias training and certification programs for retail environments. Major tech publications featured editorials analyzing the incident's broader implications. Wired's cover declared, "The Two Americas of Retail: How Thaddeus King Exposed the Gap." Fast Company profiled Phoenix Software's diverse workplace culture as a model for the industry. Tech industry conferences quickly updated their programming. 3 major events added panel discussions on retail bias and consumer discrimination. The prestigious TechCrunch Disrupt invited Thaddeus to deliver a keynote on ethics and equality in consumer spaces. For the first time, many white tech leaders acknowledged publicly how differently they experienced customer service, security protocols, and general treatment in retail settings. A prominent venture capitalist wrote candidly, "I've never once worried about being pepper sprayed while shopping." For electronics, that privilege of safety isn't equally distributed. The industry that had often sidelined discussions of race now placed them center stage, not as abstract concepts, but as lived experiences affecting their colleagues, partners, and leaders. The Fulton County Courthouse buzzed with activity as Rebecca Vance's arraignment proceeded. The former Global Phone manager appeared disheveled in a county-issued jumpsuit, her attorney beside her as the charges were read: assault in the second degree and violation of civil rights. How does the defendant plead? Judge Miriam Washington asked. "Not guilty, Your Honor," Rebecca's attorney responded. The prosecutor stepped forward. The state requests bail be set at $50,000, given the severity of the unprovoked attack and clear evidence. Rebecca's attorney objected. "My client has no criminal record and poses no flight risk." Judge Washington reviewed the case file, her expression grave. "The court has reviewed the video evidence. Bail is set at $30,000. The defendant will surrender her passport and remain within county jurisdiction pending trial." Rebecca slumped visibly as the reality of her situation solidified. Outside the courthouse, District Attorney Marcus Johnson addressed waiting reporters. "The evidence in this case is clear and compelling. We intend to prosecute Ms. Vance to the fullest extent of the law. Racially motivated assaults will not be tolerated in Fulton County." Meanwhile, in federal court, Phoenix Software's civil suit against Global Phone proceeded on an expedited schedule. Judge Eleanor Ramirez granted the motion for accelerated discovery, giving Global Phone 10 days to produce all documents related to Rebecca Vance's employment, training records, and previous customer complaints. The court recognizes the significant public interest in this case, Judge Ramirez stated. Transparency serves justice. Global Phone's attorneys attempted to move proceedings to private mediation. Powell countered forcefully, "My client seeks accountability through the public record, Your Honor. The sunshine of open court best serves these proceedings." The judge agreed, denying Global Phone's motion and setting an aggressive schedule for the case. The parallel legal tracks: criminal prosecution of Rebecca and civil action against Global Phone created mounting pressure for resolution. Each filing became news, each hearing another opportunity for public scrutiny of how retail spaces criminalized black shoppers. But Rebecca's defense strategy crumbled further when 3 former Global Phone employees came forward with sworn statements about her history of targeting minority customers for surveillance. Her attorney's attempts to portray her as following company protocol backfired when Global Phone's own documents contradicted these claims. Justice, often slow and uncertain, moved with unusual clarity and purpose. The evidence left little room for doubt. The public attention permitted no buried settlements, and Thaddeus's resources ensured no legal corners were cut. Rebecca Vance had expected Thaddeus King to leave her store in handcuffs. Instead, she faced years behind bars while he transformed an assault into a movement for change. 6 months after the assault, the Fulton County Superior Court convened for the final hearing in Thaddeus King v. Global Phone. Incorporated sunlight streamed through tall windows as Judge Eliza Montgomery reviewed the terms of the settlement agreement. The courtroom buzzed with journalists, activists, and corporate representatives, all witnesses to the conclusion of a case that had transformed from personal injury to national movement. Thaddeus sat beside Attorney Powell, his posture relaxed, but dignified. Across the aisle, Global Phone's legal team huddled with executives, their expressions resigned. The terms they'd eventually accepted went far beyond financial compensation. "The court has reviewed the settlement agreement," Judge Montgomery announced. "Before approving these terms, I'd like to highlight key provisions for the public record." She adjusted her glasses and read from the document. Global Phone will establish a $42 million fund addressing retail discrimination, $15 million as direct compensation to Mr. King, with $12 million of that amount earmarked for the newly formed King Foundation for Retail Equity, $25 million for implementation of comprehensive anti-bias training across all 2,100 Global Phone locations nationwide, $2 million for independent auditing of security practices for a 5-year period. The judge continued, "Furthermore, Global Phone agrees to establish an external oversight board with authority to review customer complaints regarding discriminatory treatment. The company will implement body cameras for all security personnel, with footage accessible to this independent review board." These terms represented the most comprehensive anti-discrimination settlement in retail history. Unlike typical corporate agreements buried under confidentiality clauses, every detail remained transparent and enforceable through court oversight. "Does Global Phone understand these obligations?" Judge Montgomery asked. Lawrence Patterson, the company's CEO, stood. "We do, Your Honor. Global Phone accepts full responsibility for the failures that led to this incident and commits to these terms." Without reservation, the judge nodded. "And Mr. King, do you find these terms satisfactory?" Thaddeus rose. "I do, Your Honor. This agreement focuses on prevention rather than just punishment. That's always been my objective." Judge Montgomery signed the approval order. "The court finds these terms fair and just." Settlement approved. The gavel's crack echoed through the courtroom, marking the end of the civil proceeding. But it represented just one track of justice, in the criminal courts. Rebecca Vance's case concluded with less negotiation. After security footage demolished her claims of self-defense, she accepted a plea agreement, guilty to assault in the 2nd degree. Her sentence: 18 months in prison, 3 years probation, mandatory anti-bias education, and 500 hours of community service in predominantly black neighborhoods. Her sentencing Rebecca finally acknowledged the truth. "I acted on assumptions and biases I didn't even recognize I held," she told the court. "Nothing justified what I did to Mr. King." The dual outcomes, corporate accountability and individual responsibility, set precedents that reverberated through the retail industry. No longer could companies hide behind rogue employee defenses when patterns of discrimination emerged. No longer could individuals claim split-second decisions to justify racially motivated responses. Most significant was the absence of confidentiality provisions. Every document, deposition, and internal memo became part of the public record, creating a roadmap for future cases and corporate reforms. The transparency itself became the most powerful deterrent against similar incidents. When the final court proceedings concluded, Thaddeus addressed waiting reporters on the courthouse steps. "Today isn't about winning or losing," he said. "It's about changing the equation of power in consumer spaces. No one should fear violence while shopping, regardless of their skin color or appearance." Legal observers noted the settlement's unique structure. Unlike typical cases where victims receive lump sums and companies admit no wrongdoing, this resolution centered on measurable change with concrete benchmarks. Global Phone would face ongoing court supervision until meeting specified diversity and training goals. The victory wasn't merely financial. It was transformational. Global Phone's evolution from corporate defendant to industry leader in equity practices happened with remarkable speed. Within 45 days of the settlement, the company launched a comprehensive overhaul branded Operation Transparency. Every store received new training modules developed in partnership with the NAACP and retail justice experts. Loss prevention. Personnel underwent extensive recertification focusing on objective behavioral indicators rather than subjective assessments. Store layouts were redesigned to eliminate surveillance blind spots while creating more open, welcoming environments. CEO Lawrence Patterson personally led town halls at regional offices, acknowledging the company's failures without excuses. "We built security systems that protected our products but not our customers' dignity," he told employees. That changes today. The External Oversight Board, comprising civil rights attorneys, retail experts, and community representatives, received authority previously unheard of in corporate America. They could review any customer complaint, access security footage, and mandate disciplinary action for violations of the new policies. Most radically, Global Phone implemented transparency cams, visible recording devices in customer service areas, accessible to both employees and customers. This accountability measure, initially resisted by management, quickly proved effective at reducing confrontations and increasing customer trust. The company's hiring practices transformed as well. Within 1 year, store management demographics shifted to better reflect the communities they served. Promotion criteria explicitly rewarded inclusive leadership rather than merely sales metrics or loss prevention statistics. Industry analysts predicted Global Phone would suffer financial consequences from these investments. Instead, customer loyalty increased. A Nielsen survey revealed 73% of consumers expressed greater willingness to shop at retailers with transparent anti-bias policies. Other retailers noticed. Within 18 months, 5 major competitors announced similar policy overhauls, not from legal necessity but competitive advantage. The Global Phone standard became retail shorthand for equitable security practices. The company's stock, which had plummeted after the incident, recovered fully and then surpassed previous highs. Their annual shareholder report highlighted an unexpected finding. Diverse management teams consistently outperformed homogeneous ones in customer satisfaction, employee retention, and ultimately, profitability. Patterson, speaking at the National Retail Federation Conference, reflected on the transformation. "What began as our darkest moment became our greatest opportunity for growth. We discovered that equity isn't just morally right. It's good business." The assault that could have derailed Thaddeus's career instead redirected it toward greater purpose. While maintaining his role as Phoenix Software CEO, he devoted significant time to the newly established King Foundation for Retail Equity. The foundation's mission focused on 3 initiatives: documenting discrimination through data collection, developing industry-wide training standards, and supporting victims of retail profiling without his resources or platform. Most people who experience this type of discrimination can't fight back effectively. Thaddeus explained at the Foundation's launch event. They lack the financial means, legal representation, or public attention that made my case different. The Foundation's first major project created a secure reporting system for retail discrimination incidents. The anonymous database tracked patterns across companies, locations, and demographics, creating accountability through data. Within its first year, the system collected over 12,000 reports, providing undeniable evidence of systemic issues. Thaddeus traveled extensively, addressing retail associations, corporate boards, and law enforcement agencies. His presentations paired personal experience with hard data, making the abstract problem of bias concrete and urgent. I don't share my story for sympathy, he told a conference of security professionals. I share it because it reveals a system that fails both customers and businesses. When security becomes harassment, everyone loses. His advocacy extended beyond speaking engagements. The Foundation provided pro bono legal representation for victims of similar incidents, funded academic research on retail discrimination, and created certification programs for equitable retail environments. Phoenix Software contributed technical expertise, developing AI systems that could identify potential bias in security protocols without compromising legitimate loss prevention. The technology, provided free to retailers who adopted the Foundation's training standards, helped separate actual suspicious behavior from racial assumptions. Thaddeus's approach avoided simplistic accusations or public shaming. Instead, he focused on measurable improvements and practical solutions. This pragmatism helped bridge traditional divides, bringing conservative business leaders and progressive activists to the same table. Harvard Business Review profiled his advocacy approach. King has mastered the delicate balance between moral clarity and practical implementation. He doesn't merely identify problems, he co-creates solutions with the very systems he criticizes. The work took physical and emotional toll. Jordan often reminded him to pace himself, noting the irony that his assault recovery had been briefer than his advocacy marathon. Yet Thaddeus found renewable energy in tangible progress, each policy reformed, each victim supported, each mind changed. This work isn't separate from my role as CEO, he explained to Phoenix's board. It's an extension of the same values that built our company, seeing problems clearly and solving them systematically. On the one-year anniversary of the incident, Thaddeus returned to the Global Phone store, now redesigned, restaffed, and reimagined as the company's flagship for inclusive retail practices. The visit wasn't publicized. He arrived alone, wanting authentic experience rather than staged photo opportunity. The store manager, a young black woman hired during the company's diversity initiative, recognized him immediately. "Mr. King," she said, extending her hand. "Your visit means everything to our team." Thaddeus smiled. "I'm just a customer today." He browsed laptops in the same aisle where he'd once collapsed in pain. The memories remained vivid. The burning sensation, the public humiliation, the shock of unprovoked attack. Yet standing there also brought unexpected peace. The space had been reclaimed, transformed from trauma site to testament of change. Later, that evening, Thaddeus sat in his home office, surrounded by awards his advocacy had garnered. The NAACP Image Award, Time's Influential 100 cover, the Business Leadership Ethics Prize. These accolades measured external validation, but his internal journey proved more complex. "The incident changed me in ways I'm still discovering," he confided to Jordan over dinner. "Before, I navigated discrimination by exceeding expectations, being twice as good, twice as careful, twice as controlled. Now I recognize the system. Itself needs reconstruction, not just exceptional individuals who can overcome it." This shift from personal excellence to systemic change defined his evolving perspective. Phoenix Software continued thriving, its acquisition by Meridian Technologies finalized at a premium valuation, with Thaddeus remaining as CEO of the autonomous division. Yet his measure of success expanded beyond business metrics. The Phoenix board meeting that week included a new agenda item: quarterly progress on the company's equity initiatives. Thaddeus had instituted internal practices mirroring those he advocated externally: transparent promotion criteria, diverse hiring panels, measurable inclusion benchmarks. My work isn't about assuaging guilt or seeking revenge, he explained to a documentary filmmaker capturing his journey. It's about building systems that reflect our highest values rather than our deepest fears. The assault's psychological impact lingered. Thaddeus still felt momentary tension when entering unfamiliar stores. Security personnel still triggered fleeting anxiety. Yet these responses no longer controlled him. They informed his understanding of others' experiences. His calendar now balanced corporate leadership and advocacy commitments. Morning strategy sessions with Phoenix executives, afternoon testimony before regulatory agencies, evening presentations to community organizations. The pace would exhaust most, but Thaddeus found it energizing. What happened that day could have diminished me, he reflected during a university commencement address. Instead, it expanded my purpose. True resilience isn't about bouncing back to who you were before trauma. It's about growing into someone stronger, more conscious, more connected to others facing similar challenges. The man who walked into Global Phone seeking a birthday gift emerged from the experience with something more valuable: clarity of purpose that transcended personal success to embrace collective progress. 3 years after the pepper spray incident, Thaddeus King stood before Congress, testifying in support of the Retail Equity and Customer Protection Act. The proposed legislation would establish federal standards for security practices, bias training, and accountability measures across the retail sector. This bill transforms the voluntary reforms some companies have embraced into baseline protections all Americans deserve, Thaddeus explained to the committee. Dignity while shopping shouldn't depend on which store you enter or which CEO decides to prioritize equity. The congressional hearing represented a milestone in a movement that had expanded far beyond one executive's experience. The Foundation's database now documented over 50,000 incidents of retail discrimination nationwide, creating irrefutable evidence of patterns requiring structural solutions. Global Phone had become an unlikely ally, with CEO Patterson joining Thaddeus in advocacy efforts. Their partnership, Victim and Perpetrator's Employer United for Reform, proved powerfully symbolic of reconciliation through accountability. Industry-wide changes accelerated. Major retailers implemented bias training, transparent security protocols, and diverse hiring practices. Insurance companies began offering premium discounts to businesses adopting certified equity measures, creating financial incentives alongside moral imperatives. For Thaddeus personally, the journey from victim to changemaker completed a profound arc. Phoenix Software continued thriving under his leadership, recently launching accessible technology initiatives for underserved communities. The acquisition he once pursued primarily for business validation now funded innovations with social impact. Jordan, promoted to president of Phoenix's consumer division, often reminded him how far they'd traveled. "Remember when our biggest concern was impressing investors?" she mused during a strategy retreat. "Now we're redesigning how an entire industry functions." Thaddeus smiled at this truth. The assault that could have defined him as a victim instead catalyzed his evolution into an architect of change. His legacy wouldn't be measured in stock prices or acquisition values, but in countless customers who would never experience what he endured, their dignity preserved by systems he helped transform. The true measure of justice, he told the congressional committee in his closing statement, isn't punishment for past wrongs, but creation of structures that prevent future harms. That's the work I'm committed to continuing. As he concluded his testimony, Thaddeus noticed a young black teenager watching from the gallery, eyes wide with recognition and hope. In that moment, he understood the deeper meaning of his journey, creating possibility where once there was only pain.